Okay, mes enfants, which means my little ones, we're going to go into a study of the creation. Who was the creator God? And what were their personalities like? I'm going to be looking at Yaldabaoth, who was supposedly responsible for the creation of material existence. And so we got Yaldabaoth, and then we got Yahweh, who was also supposedly responsible for virtually the universe, creating the universe. Now, looking back at the ancient texts, which is where I start with, I mean, they were the closest to the source. Since then, everybody just considered everything just silly. Literally, I'm telling you, that's just a fact. You know it, and I know it, and everybody knows it. Nobody has considered these things possible in any realm. Well, I'm telling you right now, they are possible, and they did happen, as I can show you from material evidence. These things were based in fact, at least based in fact. Not every detail was correct, obviously. This goes down hundreds and hundreds of years, then thousands of years, and by the time they get to us, we just think it's ridiculous and we laugh. But if you go back to even the Nag Hammadi texts, which are Gnostic, now that's not the Bible. It's not anybody's Bible, basically. It's knowledge. Gnostic means knowledge. It's understanding. And apparently Jesus was a Gnostic, and he was with the Essenes, and they wrote all these stories and sayings and parables and you know, little phrases that you can interpret sometimes in a lot of different ways, and almost all of them. But some of them are very, very focused. And I have read a lot of it. And I found some things you just can't dismiss. And the same thing with Apollodorus. Apollodorus wrote basically the things that were congealed through history, basically starting with Hesiod. But that was only 800 BC. That's 3,000 years ago. That's all. And that's basically the first words written, Greek. Hesiod wrote, and the reason he wrote was because the daughters of Zeus, which were called the Muses, showed up on Mount Helicon, where he was out tending his flock, and they said, our father, I think they said, our father has asked you to write the history. Or we're asking you, whatever. They were asking him to write the history of their father's great accomplishment, Zeus. Primarily, you know, showing him in a positive light, basically. And Hesiod said, I can't write. I don't know how to write. And they said, here's a laurel rod. And I guess he took it, started writing like crazy. Wrote everything, all the way from the creation up through all of the monsters and Hercules and all the gods and battles in the heavens and Typhon, and right straight through the whole thing. And who succeeded who, and who ate whose children, and who was Uranus, and who was Jupiter and Zeus, and everything. It's just unbelievable. Apollodorus is just, and when it starts off, you know, the 100-handers, she gave birth to 100-handers. They had 50 heads, 100 hands. She gave birth to the Cyclopses, the giants, the Titans. And then the gods came along, and they said, well, these guys are out of control. We're going to kill them. They killed all Earth's children, which were the giants, the Titans, and all those. The gods came down and killed them all. So she got enraged, created Typhon, who was the monster of all monsters. And he is laying in the desert in Morocco. And that's just a fact. And that came to me as an inspiration when I was here in, well, I'll show you Typhon, and I'll try to explain how it came to be that I found him. Okay, my friends, I have shown this and described this in extreme detail hundreds and hundreds of times. This is Typhon. This is him highlighted. This is his throat. And he's got a red flared eye, and he's spitting all this stuff down at a gigantic fish. I will show you the details in a moment. This is the runoff of his decaying body. This is what they call effluent. This is the flashy stuff you see in the parades in China and stuff. His body runs all across North Africa. And here he is, unhighlighted. All right, there's his throat again. There's the flashy stuff. There's this red flared eye. He's spitting stuff at the fish. And here's the fish. The gigantic fish right there. And here's Typhon. That's his head I just showed you, down to about here. That's about it. His whole body runs all the way across North Africa. Okay, get ready. If Roger Spurr is right about mud fossils and giants in the Triassic, what changes? This is my extremely good friend, Chet. Take it away, Chet. Let's see. Roger Spurr's claims about mud fossil giants and the reinterpretation of the Triassic and other ancient geological formations were, whoops. Holy smokes, they got some serious writing going on here. Yikes. Wow. It's still going. All right, here we go. If Roger Spurr's claims about mud fossils, giants, and a reinterpretation of the Triassic and other ancient geological formations were validated by mainstream science, it would imply a fundamental shift in how we understand Earth's history, paleontology, and potentially even human history. Here are some key reasons where major changes could occur. Redefinition of fossilization and a geological process. The mud fossil concept. Roger Spurr suggests that many rocks and geological formations are in fact fossilized remains. We know all this. This is the new fossilization mechanism. I've shown exactly how it happens, so now we know that too. What next? Reinterpretation of the Triassic and other geological eras. I have the Triassic era was a red bed, gray clay, black cap, supposed to take 50 million years, something like that. I have all three of those layers, and I can guarantee you it didn't take more than a weekend. All three of them were wet at the same time. The red bed was pushed down with a gray clay pushed down through it, so they were both wet at the same time, and it's a perfect, flawless human footprint. And then the black cap came down, and that's because of the impact. The flesh boiled off was a red bed. The gray clay is some mixy stuff, and the top is the black cap fallout. All right. If Spurr's interpretation accepted, it might indicate that larger, perhaps non-dinosaurian life forms existed, were preserved in ways not currently understood. No, they're not. It would be rewriting Earth's biological history. Yes, it would. It would impact on anthropology and human history. Absolutely. Giant beings in human history, yes. Spurr's ideas often suggest that myth and legend about giants might have a basis in physical remains. Not might. They absolutely do. All right. And they've been misinterpreted or dismissed. No, dismissed. Hidden from by mainstream science. If validated, it would blur the line between mythology accounts, historical reality, forcing a revelation of ancient texts, myths, and oral traditions mention giants, then a potential implication for human evolution. All right, then another one, challenges to establish scientific paradigm. Everything's wrong, basically. Shift in geological, paleontological consensus. Yes, it's got to change. New research directions. We've got to look into all new research. Because if Spurr's ideas were widely accepted, it would likely lead to a paradigm shift compared to the way plate tectonics transformed geology. Well, plate tectonics is wrong. It's all biology in the first place. But they're saying this is going to be huge. It will be huge. It is huge. New research directions. We've got to start all over again. Culture and philosophical implications. We got to start to consider, what about these people that have all these crazy beliefs? We thought they were just insane people, but no. Who knows? Many cultures around the world have myths of giants. Well, they all have. 100% have giants, dragons, and gods. 100%. It could provoke a wider conversation. It should. Public perception of science and history. Yes, the public perception should understand we've just been misled, and now we're being lied to. All right? Skepticism and validation, yes. Potential resistance and scientific debate. It's all resistance and skepticism, and they won't let it be validated. Confrontation with established interpretations, absolutely. I'm confronting them every day. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, which I have. So any such rethinking would need to be backed by substantial empirical data, replicable findings, peer-reviewed research. Here's the problem. They will not research it. They won't peer-review it. So I have a confrontation with established interpretations. The theories presented by Spur are often considered outside mainstream science. No, mine are real science. They are outside science. They're just interpretations and guesses, and it must have happened. Oh, guess what? Now we figured it out. Oh, we just figured it out. They figure out something 2-3 times a year. It's unbelievable. All right, so I have to rely on their evidence-based research and methodologies. Yes, I did. I used the CAT scans, DNA tests. I have the chemistry. I have the specimens. They can be retested. All right. In summary, if Spur's ideas about mud fossils, giants, the reinterpretation of ancient geological formations were accepted, it could transform our understanding of Earth's history, life forms, process of fossilization. It would likely require major revisions in textbooks, scientific theories, as well as new research directions to fully understand the implications. Such a shift would not only affect geology and paleontology, but also touch on broader cultural and philosophical questions about humanity's place in history. I would say that's pretty important research. And that's only half of the research. The other half is about the light. And that also feeds into the ancient stories about we come from the light. We are children of the light. Look at all this stuff they wrote. It changes everything, my friends, everything. And it is being hidden from by the people we trusted to confront new information. It's not a good look. All right, this is Hesiod. And he's talking about all these deep, roaring earth shaker made his son-in-law, giving him Simophlia, his daughter, to wed. Now we got Typhonius, his Typhon. When Zeus had driven the Titans from heaven, huge earth bare her youngest child, Typhonius, of the love of Tartarus. She had sex with Tartarus to make Typhon to come back and avenge her. Now listen to this. This was the works of Hesiod. Okay, this is Hesiod's Theogony, and he wrote in the 8th century BC. This is only 800 BC, and he wrote what the daughters of Zeus told him to write. There it is right here, Hymn to the Muses. From the Heliconian Muses, those are the daughters of Zeus. Let us begin to sing, who hold the great and holy mount of Helicon and dance on soft feet about the deep blue spring and the altar of the almighty son of Kronos. That was Zeus. And when they have washed their tender bodies in the premises or in the horse's spring or Olmius, make their fair, lovely dances upon the highest Helicon and move with vigorous feet. Thence they arise and go abroad by night, veiled in thick mist, and utter their song with lovely voice, praising Zeus, the Aegis holder, that's the lightning bolt holder, I believe, and queenly Hera, which was his wife, of Argos, who walks on golden sandals, and the daughter of Zeus, the Aegis holder, Zeus, was bright-eyed Athena, which to me is Venus. Now, and Phobos, Apollo, and Artemis, who delights in arrows, and Poseidon, the earth holder, who shakes the earth, and reverend Thermasian and quick-glancing Aphrodite. These are Kronos, Iapetus, Leto, the Oceanus. I mean, this is all the gods. And here's all of the works that he wrote. Hymn to the Muses, Cosmology, the castration of Uranus. He was, you got to read this. It's just beyond belief. But it gets down to the Titans, Prometheus, who was the father of Noah in this account, then the Titans, Typhon, the Olympian gods. Then this is about the works and days of the actual humans. How did they live their life, their works and their days? What was it? The shield of Hercules. This is Hercules, Heracles they call it. Dialogues of women, miscellaneous fragments. This is serious stuff. Now this is only about Hesiod's work. Now we go to Apollodorus. This is a killer. This, my friends, is the killer. And here's what he's got to offer. Now this is Apollodorus. He wrote in the 2nd century BC. So where he is, he's 600 years down the road. But he did the work. And he went back and he revived all of these stories. And by this time, they were considered insanity because it was just so crazy. But it is, as I've shown you, the physical evidence supports these stories. Now, here's what he wrote. This is Apollodorus, and the work is generally believed to be about 2nd century AD. No, wait a minute. That's not right. It was the 2nd century BC. His fellow authorship is now dismissed. No, not to dismiss him. This is crazy. He was back before Christ. He didn't write anything about Christ. Now, what did he write about? The birth of Zeus, who was hidden because he was supposed to be eaten by Kronos. They always ate the kids so the kids couldn't take over. And then they had the War of the Titans, the Olympian gods, Apollo and Artemis, Demeter and Persephone, War of the Giants and Typhon. This is where it gets crazy. 1.6.3 is out of control. Prometheus, who was the father of Deucalion, who was Noah, and he told him to construct a chest because Jupiter had made an announcement he was going to send Venus to destroy the Earth. Basically, that's the way I'm taking it. And he told Deucalion, you can get yourself in a chest and be able to hide out for such and such. You got to read it. You got to read it. And then it comes down to book 2. That's only book 1. Book 2, book 3. And then all this, the Trojan Wars. And this was the earliest writing and a compilation of that. And then Ovid also was huge in this because the first words in his epic work was, I intend to speak of creatures that were transformed into the landscape, often by means of violence. The first 2 lines of 12,000 lines of text said, I intend to speak of bodies transformed into, well, here, I'm going to read it to you. Here it is right here. Metamorphosis, 12,000 lines, 250 myths. Took them all together and sort of worked them and what can we make of them? 15 books, 12,000 lines. And he found that every one of them had metamorphosis. What is metamorphosis? It means something to change something from like a caterpillar into a butterfly. Well, these things could change into anything they wanted. His books were, look, book 1, the creation, ages of mankind, the flood, Deucalion again, who was Noah, Pyra, Apollo, Daphne, and then all of the gods, Jupiter, Europa, Hercules, all of them, the whole line, the birth of Hercules, right down the line. Now, what was he talking about? The themes, the different genres. Who cares about that? What did he say in the beginning? Metamorphosis. All right, the biological process of an animal just changing, or transformation, is a unifying theme. It's in every bit of his work amongst the episodes of the Metamorphosis. They all can do this, and they do it all the time. Ovid raises its significance explicitly in the opening lines, the first 2 lines. He says, in nova fert animus mutatus decere formos corpora. I intend to speak of forms changed into new entities. Accompanying this theme is often violence inflicted upon a victim whose transformation becomes part of the natural landscape. Yes, They think he's talking metamorphic, just about, metamorphic. You know what I'm talking about. He's just, this gets confusing. Metaphorically. Sometimes I just can't come up with the word. All right, this is again from the Apollodorus library here. And this is a translation of these texts. So it's on with somewhat of an interpretation, but not too much. And these texts were in good shape when they got them. Oh, hold on a second. All right, this is about Apollodorus, and most of his texts survived pretty complete. And so when I read something like this, now listen, this is Apollodorus. And it starts out by this, and this is, again, it's a translation, so it's open for a little bit of interpretation, but who knows. It starts right out by saying Sky was the first who ruled over the whole world. So the Sky ruled the world. And having wedded the earth, the Sky wedded the earth, he begat first 100-handed. They had sex, and she came out with 100-handed creatures, as they are named, Brias, Gaius, Codus, who were unsurpassed in size and might, each of them having 100 hands and 50 heads. This is what Apollodorus wrote. After these, earth bore him the Cyclopses. We all know about the Cyclopses. And to wit means which were Argus, Stephanus, Brontus, of whom each had one eye on his forehead. But them Sky, who was the father god, bound into and cast into Tartarus, a gloomy place in Hades. Now listen to this. I found this very interesting. This Tartarus is a gloomy place in Hades, as far distant from earth as earth is distant from the sky. How far is earth from the sky? They always talk about the firmament. Well, that is the ionosphere in my book, which starts to go into the heavens. Past the ionosphere, you're out. And they could call that the firmament if you want. It's a very hot layer. It's almost 3,000 degrees out there. People don't know this. The Earth here is 100-ish on the surface. Way out there is 3,000 degrees. No idea why it's like that. And in between, it goes down to minus 100. It's because it's a dipole, and by the time it goes back up again, Earth has to absorb that excess energy. So that's just another story about how wrong things are. But all of this, as far as I'm concerned, is supported. Now, watch this 1.6.3. You see this? We're going to go Zeus, the War of the Titans, the Olympian gods, the War of the Giants, Typhon, Prometheus, and Deucalion. Well, let's take a quick look at the War of the Giants and Typhon. 1.6. All right, so we got 1.6.2. Let's just come past this because it's all about the battle. Porphin attacked Hercules and Hera. Nevertheless, Zeus inspired him with lust for Hera, and when he tore her robes and tried to force her to have sex, she called for help. Zeus smote him with a thunderbolt, and Hercules shot him dead with an arrow. Hercules shot them all dead, and the reason was you had to have the help of a half-human, half-god, who was Hercules, to kill him. And he shot them all with her. Anyway, he goes down through killing people with red hot metal. They flayed Phalus, used his skin to shield her body. I mean, they killed him with clubs and all this stuff. Now, listen to this. One of them they shot in one eye, and Hercules shot in the other eye. Anyway, it comes down to here. They were wearing helmets of Hades. They slew Hephaestus in the fight, and Artemis slew Gratian. The Fates, fighting with brazier clubs, killed Argus and Thoas and other giants. Zeus smote and destroyed with thunderbolts, and all of them Hercules shot with arrows as they were dying. He shot them through their eyes. Now listen to this. This is about Typhon. This is Zekilir. When the gods, who was Zeus and his guys, and Hercules, had overcome the giants. They killed all the giants. They killed them all. Who were the children of Earth. Earth was enraged, absolutely enraged. So what did she do? She had intercourse with Tartarus and brought forth Typhon, who is the gigantic dragon. Now he's a hybrid between man and beast. Now when they say a hybrid, he's just like a dragon. The only thing that was a hybrid was his thighs, and they pointed out specifically, listen carefully, he was a hybrid between man and beast. In size and strength, he surpassed all the offspring of Earth. He's 1,200 miles long. Now listen to this, pointed out specifically, as far as the thighs, he was of human shape. That's the only thing. And of such prodigious bulk. Now that's only his thighs coming down. And then after that he had coils. Now he outtopped all the mountains. His head often brushed the stars. Now one of his hands reached out to the west, the other to the east, and from them projected 100 dragons' heads. Yikes! Now listen to this. From the thighs downward he had huge coils of vipers. When they were drawn out, they reached to his very head and emitted a loud hissing. His body was all winged, unkempt, hair streamed on the wind, as you will see, his head and his cheeks. Fire flashed from his eyes. I showed you that, fire coming out of his eyes. Such and so great was Typhon, when hurling kindled rocks, he made for the very heaven with hissing and shouts. He went to attack the gods. He was spouting a great jet of fire from his mouth at the gods. When the gods saw him rushing at heaven, they made for Egypt in flight, and being pursued, they changed their forms into those of animals. Guess who changed? The god of war, Ares, changed her I believe it's her body into a fish. And Typhon got the fish. I showed you this. Let's look at it carefully. Here it is right there. There's Typhon. All right. Remember, it's about his flared eye. His red, flared, flashing eye. There it is right there. Give it a second, and you shall see, my children. There it is. There's his red, glowing, flared, flashing eye. And there's his head. And he is spitting all this stuff from his mouth at the gigantic fish who was Ares, right there. And Ares did not get away quick enough. Now this is, I believe it's a flatfish. I was always wondering what this thing over here was. I think that's the second eye. I believe this is one eye and that's another. They have sometimes a real globby looking eye. And I believe it's that. Because the fin structure looks about right. The tail structure looks about right. And so I'm going with a flatfish. And you see the scales? They have scales. I mean, fish have scales. You know, sometimes they don't. They're just slippery. But now, remember I talked about the runoff and the effluent? Well, maybe I did, maybe I didn't. But here's Typhon. There's that flashy-looking stuff you see at the parades in China. They run all the way down the body of the dragons. And they're big, long dragons. They drag them through the streets and all that. You've seen them, I'm sure you have. This is his body, runs all the way from here, all the way across there. This is the substance of his body. These are the thighs of a human. This is the tail of the dragon. And this is some more dragon scales down here. You see them? These are dragon scales. And this is dragon blood. and it's a swale. So the blood that was in all these tubes when he died has come down here and is running out in this area. Now, this is the very tip of his tail, way out here. And if I'm not going to go deep into this because I've done it literally hundreds and hundreds of times. So if you want to come up and look at this real close, that's up to you. But if this, because it takes time to home in on these things. But look at this. This is more dragon feathers and dragon scales. These are not hills and valleys, my friend. Those are not hills and valleys. And neither are the ones all the way up his body. This is the other end of his body, way over here. Way over here on his throat, you have a ton of dragon scales because he is a dragon. There's his throat right there. Runs right down here, you see? It's caved in, but these are his dragon scaled throat. And this is outside. This is like a jowl here. All right, dragons have a little bit of a jowl right here. You know, I know my dragons. Now, as it comes down, it comes back to nice tight scales right along his throat. But that's a little floppy-ish. And what does tight scales look like? Well, there it is right there. Here's his throat. These here have a little hinge every so often so that he can bend his throat. And stuff runs off between there. Now that is running off. All of this stuff is body fluids. You see it? All the way down to here. This is all nasty fluid. But it's just a tan looking fluid. If it was red or black blood, it would be from a gash that Zeus did with his great and mighty sword. That's red blood. That is vein blood. That's artery vein. And it's coming right out of here. And the red blood is what you buy to feed your plants. It's called blood meal. And in the desert, it grows nice green plants because it is extremely fertile. Now the black blood, different situation. Black blood is nothing left in it. It just turns hard. All right, it's a whole different situation. All right, different situation. And then where the venom came out, yikes, yikes, yikes on steroid yikes. Don't forget, there's his throat. Let's go all the way up his throat. Now the yellow is what feeds the toxins. Watch this. We're coming all the way up to yellow. Let me back out of here because it'll take forever. We're going to come all the way up to yellow, 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 yellow. Okay, where does it go after it gets up here? It feeds across here. You see the yellow coming up? And then it dumps into here. Well, what is here? These are his two beards. Let me back out again. Those are beards. Dragons have beards. All right, and it feeds, what it's doing. Look at this structure here. This thing is working along together with some kind of wacky, whatever this is. Look at that. I don't know what's going on. But this is clearly very, very, very biological. And it is working with this beard. And the other half of the beard here, they have two beards. One of them goes that way, and it's got the yellow stuff coming into it, charging it up or doing something. On this side, you don't really have that. It's like dividing here. This side goes the white, nasty, nasty stuff. And this side goes a little less. But then it comes down here, and whatever happens after that is all nastiness. All right, as it comes down here, watch this. This whole area in here is just totally unbelievably nasty. Now, and this whole area is the chemistry here is unbelievable, and I have some satellite shots from NASA that speak about this, but they can't speak about it, about what it is. Look at this. Here, let me show you something. Look at this. NASA EMET mission has created the first comprehensive maps of the world's mineral dust source regions. Look at this. Look at that. That's Typhon. And Australia is a scab. Australia is like saturated with blood. All right, this is minerals. That's Typhon. All right, and here he is laying in the desert. There he is. That's what his head looks like. And here's where his beards are, and it's all coming down here. And as the front beard spits down, that's where it gets really crazy. Because it mixes with something in his nose. You see over here his nose? Let's follow this up. The yellow stuff comes up. It comes into one beard, and what it does there, I don't know. The other beard is right here, and it starts spitting out some green stuff. This is coming over to meet with the green stuff to make Death City, I don't know. But where it's coming from, it's coming out of his nose. It looks like it's almost snorting. Snorting fire out of its nose. I don't know what that is. But it's not, I don't know. I have no idea. But that is something that's in that, coming out of his nose, is mixing over. Look at that stuff. This tube right here. Look at that. Right down this tube. Look at that. Oh my God. It's the first time I've seen this. What the hell? Holy smokes. Somebody's been out here. But I don't think recently. Look at that. Now it's turning green. But there are obviously separations of some. Well, what the hell is going on? Now, let's follow this thing down. Boy, this is starting to get interesting. Now, this is the whole feeder for this thing here. All right, quite obvious. Wow. I don't see a whole lot of activity out here either. All right, so it's feeding that tube down into this, which turns into this combustion area, and that turns into this and this. So this whole area is related to this somehow. You see how this is bleeding off of this? This is creating this. This is creating this, which is really serious. Now, what the hell it is, I don't know. Look at that. Look at that. It's obviously some kind of chemical discharge. Now, it's not inside of his body per se, I don't believe. Although I really can't tell, to be honest with you. I can see his jaw comes up this way. But I sort of lose track of it up in here. I think I think his nose is right here. Right there. So, and well, it's his nostrils. This is where this stuff is coming from, his nostril area. Right here. Oh, somebody dammed this up. Every time I look up in here, I find something new to look at. Why is that so blue looking? Usually I only see that when you got some serious chemistry going on, which we know we do. Look at that, my goodness. What is that? And you can see it keeps going one little spot after another. Anyway, that's on a bump on his nose. And then he spits all this stuff down at the fish. It eats through the fish's fin here and into his back, and you can actually see the blood vessels. Get a doctor. I can show you, and I have learned a lot of biology by looking at this. You see this right here? These are arteries. Here, let me get a little pointer here. These are arteries. And they break off into little blood vessels. The blood vessels go into the little capillaries at the end, and then they dump into the veins. Watch right here. You got a big artery coming down, and it breaks into little branches. Some go this way, that way. Every single cell has to get some blood. So here's all the real good red blood coming down. All of that stuff is things growing here, and they're growing in the red blood. They don't grow outside the red blood. They don't grow in this area where the black is. No. So here it comes down. Red blood, red blood, red blood, red blood, red blood. And so now it's being pushed into these little areas. And then it ends up getting into the black, which is the veins. Veins are quite a bit different than arteries. Veins are porous. Now here's what happens. The blood comes down. It's still being used. There's plenty of good stuff in there. But by the time it gets to here, there's nothing left. And it pushes it into here. This is actually the transition between the capillaries into the veins. And the veins have gaps in them like this. And they suck up all this fluidy stuff, which is very small. And they are at this point inside, entering the vein here. And all of these little lines are your lymphatic system. They can't even see this stuff like I can see it. They can't see this in the laboratories. This is like unbelievable. And I can watch the lymph system actually work. I can watch the immune system attack what's attacking it. And I can watch lymph nodes die, which are right here being killed because of this invasive attack. And where is that attack coming from? And what is it doing to the lymph node? It's killing it. It's coming through the edges here into it and killing the center, which was supposed to be the digester. And it's coming through all these little webbing on it here with this toxins. You see all the webbing is supposed to be the filtration? And it's going in here, and it's just killed that lymph node, and it's killing them all the way down. There's a whole slew of them down here, all dying, all dying, all dying. Why? Because they're right here. Because that's the toxin invading. And I found that your body itself can send the lymph where it's needed. It doesn't just accidentally get up there. Look at the vast amount of lymph going past there over to the lymph nodes. It just can't handle it, though. This is just too much. So they all die. But as far as I'm concerned, the body has directed all that lymph to go there. That lymph just shouldn't be there, just a whole batch of lymph there. and not so much everywhere else. It should be sort of uniform, but no. Something told that lymph to get over there and grab that stuff out of there and get it over to the lymph nodes. Well, the lymph nodes said, yeah, bring it over. And then they said, whoa, this stuff is way worse than we thought. And when it comes in, here's another one, see? Here's all the little filters. It comes in, it goes inside, and it kills the bacteria and the enzymes that are living inside these lymph nodes. It takes forever to have this sink in. But these are all the little filters. And all of these feed in through those filters, and then they're supposed to be transitioned up here. See, here it is now. Up in here, they're supposed to be transitioned. Well, they're not. They're coming out black. Coming out of here, they're supposed to be back in good shape again. They're not. They're dead. It's supposed to come in one side, nasty like this, and come out the other side, real clean. It's not. It's coming out dead. And the whole line of them have been whacked with this, all the way down here. The fish died. And that's exactly what it said. Ares turned himself into a fish, or herself, and Typhon, the gigantic creature in the desert, attacked. And the coils run all the way down to here. It said the coils ran forever. This is not just sand dunes. You want to see something? If you think this is sand dunes, go talk to somebody that knows about leather. All right, let's get down here where the leather is. Where the leather hits the road. Let's see. Go find somebody who knows about leather. I've looked at it in a microscope. It's leather. There's no question. I have leather here. It's identical. No difference whatsoever. And this is, you know, I don't know what kind of leather it is. It could be like ostrich skin or something. But this whole area, it's just the same stuff everywhere. Huh. That's not sand dunes. Let it sink in a second while I sip my tea. Quite tasty. No. That's not sand dunes. That's the way skin tags in. So this whole area here, as it said, his coils went everywhere. So we're all the way over here. And they might even come all the way over to here. I don't know. I haven't really, you know, you can only go so far and search so much. But anyway, who cares? He's fairly good size. Takes up most of North Africa now. And he's got all of the same plumbing as an amphibian, or a snake, or a dragon. And this is where he poops, just like every creature, basically, right at the rear end, right there. There's his legs coming down. That's where he poops. And can I show what he's got for poop anatomy? Yes, I can. It's coming right down here and right out here. Now, why is this so fertile? Well, it's poop. Poop is fertile. It's just it is. It's things live in it and they thrive in poop. And that's what this is. And that's why it's in the desert and it's doing well. Now, this here is where the solids go. Basically, that would have been where the poop. It's fluidy, but it's still solid stuff. In poop, in bird poop, that would be the dark, blackish stuff. And you can see these are dragon scales. You know, they have them everywhere. Now, what's about this side right here? This is the urine side, because this is a cloaca. All right, so here's the urine coming down here. into here, and they come down. This one comes down, and they meet up together here. See it? That's what a cloaca is, where the two of them come together and they poop out of the little vent, they call it. So the vent is down here somewhere. Look at that. This could all be poop. I don't know what it is. All of these things, you got to really take some time to look at. So that's why people go, oh, guys, taking forever to look at this stuff. Well, it's just the way it works. If you want to know what's going on, you got to take your time. Look at that. I saw like some scaly looking stuff. Now, why is that doing there? Huh. Interesting. Because here's where the poop and stuff is coming out, right? Yeah. Now, what do we got over here? That's a different issue. That almost looks like it got cut. And there was, I guess they just slashed them in a few places. And that looks like a, I don't know. That looks like a cut too. You know, it's not a natural, it's a cut across there as far as I'm concerned. And then you get right here where the poop come in here and the urine come in here, come together. Now, so now they're together, and where do they come out? They're supposed to be a vent. Well, what do we have here? There might be some reabsorption happening, because that's what happens in the human body. Just before your very last, the anus, you absorb a lot of fluids. Now, is that what's going on? Huh. But it keeps coming out and coming out. Oh, I guess this is a vent right here. I guess that's it. Because it comes down here and it's still going. And this must be the vent wall. And that is poop. That looks to be piles of poop. Now, why would they pile up in these little cone-looking things? That is very, very extraordinary. Why they would pile up and then just stop, and then start again. And here's where they are doing it, right here. It's coming in. And piling up here. Same thing there. Something's not right here. That's the pattern. And that's some kind of a biological pattern. This stuff at the top here is not part of that. Now what is this? Anyway, this is, I get caught up in digging around here, but apparently that's the vent. That's where it's pooping right out of there. I guess that's it. I guess that is it. But that's absolutely no question. This is Typhon. Has every hallmark of what they say. He's attacking the fish. He got the fish. We can see its biology. It's not anybody on the face of the planet could do this with a straight face and say, "Oh no, Roger, you're wrong." They're going to say it's impossible. It's just too big. How would they live? What would they breathe? What would they play with? What's their friends? I don't know any of that stuff. I have no idea. All I know is it's there, and it was written about. And does it have meaning? I would say so. And when they said all these sea monsters and everything were attacking ships, they were the parasites. They were the little worms and parasites that lived in here, and they snuck out through this and got into the ocean. And then started attacking ships and stuff because they were still very hungry, no longer being supported by the bodily functions of this enormous creature. You could take the largest creature we have ever known, and it would be smaller than a bacteria within us if it was in Typhon. He'd never know it was there. He had no idea. There are thousands of them living on it, no clue whatsoever they'd be there. And they had to go get fed somewhere, so they went in and ate ships. All right, I'm going to leave it at this for today, but start thinking about, well, I don't care, think about whatever you want to think about it, but I am going to be thinking about who wrote what and how did they line up together. They virtually all lined up with the same thing, because I think they were reading each other's work. And they sort of came to a consensus of what was true, and it was true. Now, I find this very interesting. You saw Typhon, and here's Typhon's head. It's a dragon head. His body's a dragon body. He's got coily things coming down from his thighs, yes. But he's not a human. He's not a human-headed creature. This is how they portrayed him, even in the Greek times, as a human-headed dragon with coiled viper things down below his, I guess they would call it the thighs. It's not that way at all. He was a dragon, and he had just the thighs of a human, which was what Apollodorus said. Now, this, I don't know what year they made these vessels and so forth, but they always portrayed him like that with a human head. And this just wasn't the case. And don't forget, this is where all of these minerals are coming from, right off of Typhon. And that's some nasty stuff. Okay, that's going to be it for today, my friends. This is Rewriting Earth's Past. AI uncovers secrets buried in the sand for millions of years. Well, I don't know about the time frame, and not necessarily in the sand, primarily in the mud. But they're saying SI, neural network trained using modern quartz sand to help unravel the histories. They're saying how the sand tumbled tells you how the Earth was, wind-blown sand. This is crazy. I'm showing the actual physical specimens of how things were, and DNA tested lungs and giant body parts from creatures and everything else. So this is, right now we're in just a system of denial. AI is going to become automated, ignorance. Because automated indoctrination. What you're going to hear from AI is mainstream statements. And my stuff is completely validated. And they say everything, if I was what I said, everything that we know would change. But of course, I don't have any evidence. Well, I have CAT scans, I have DNA tests, I have specimens, I have anatomy, I have chemistry, I have the process understood. We have the 3 layers, the red bed, the gray clay, the black cap. We have all the documented history. Throughout history, they all had the same story. We were almost hit by Venus. It literally boiled the oceans. It created all the conditions to preserve the bodies of creatures in the mud fossil preservation way. And Yale, of course, agrees now with my work. They said exceptional preservation of soft-bodied creatures promoted by silica-rich oceans, which is the whole world, it was worldwide. This particular strata worldwide. They say they can't figure out how it happened. Well, I know how it happened. And I actually told them how it happened. And most of it had to do with the silica cements that were from the siliceous ooze on the ocean floor. And it's preserved all these soft-bodied creatures. And they claim they were all jellyfish and stuff. There was no, it was, actually they say it was before there was life on Earth almost. Listen to this. This is what they're saying on campus. We've figured it out, sea creatures. Well, they say it was a quirk in the chemistry of the ancient oceans. It was all the silicates, but they only come up from the ocean floor. They're 2.5 times heavier than water. They're laying all down at the ocean. Look it up, siliceous ooze. It came back up when the flood happened, because we almost got hit by Venus. Now, this was worldwide, all around the world, and there's 3 layers. It's the Triassic. Now, they say they were just sea creatures, and they were just gooey little things, and many of them are outright bizarre in appearance, do not resemble any organism alive today. Yes, I agree with that. They say that it might be a failed evolutionary experiment. Are the Edakar organisms some sort of failed evolutionary experiment? Yes, they are. They had to be wiped off the face of the planet because they were giants and monsters and dragons. All right, a big part of the answer involves how they were able to form. I know exactly how they formed. They say they lived before the evolution of shells, teeth, or bones, which are typically the only parts of an organism to become fossilized. Mud fossils are nucleophilic substitution and invasion. What do you have to say about that, Caesar? Now, Caesar is, I believe, a goose. There's the pattern of his feathers on his head. Now, Caesar had a beak. He had feathers. He had bones. You can see the bones inside here that have turned to stone. He had an artery. He had a vein. His throat came up like this here. You see it right there? But he died flat in the flood like this, which almost, well, virtually everything I have, flat as a pancake. It boiled out of some creature's body, which is a human. It's been DNA tested. And all my other stuff, it's all totally figured out. And they say it could have happened within hours rather than the usual time frame of thousands of years to turn into stone. And they say it happened because of rapidly cemented underwater storm events. No, the whole Earth went like that. And I presented all this stuff to Derek Briggs right there at Yale years before this. I told him it's the exact same story that they just said. And they got their money from NASA, who I said to NASA back then too. I said, you got the same stuff on Mars as you have here on Earth. It's all biology. Now, why would NASA give Derek Briggs and his crew down there all this money? And all they did was say basically exactly what I said. My paper was from 2015, which has almost identical stuff. It's all heavy silicates, fascia. I call it fascia facilitated fossilization. So anyway, this is we're up against. As far as I'm concerned, we're up against academia. That's my take on things now. So I mean, I hate to do this, but you reach a point where you have to call out loudly to what is actually happening. You can't just sit back and say, oh well. You know, I tried that. I figured it would have to be accepted after all the evidence. I don't back down easily, and I didn't, and I won't. So at some point, it has to be examined. And at that point, if I'm proven wrong, well, then I'm proven wrong, and it'll be all over. If I'm proven right, we have a whole new world. And literally, you know what? Hold on one second. Okay, get ready. If Roger Spur is right about mud fossils and giants in the Triassic, what changes? This is my extremely good friend, Chet. Take it away, Chet. Let's see. Roger Spur's claims about mud fossil giants and the reinterpretation of the Triassic and other ancient geological formations were, whoops. Holy smokes, they got some serious writing going on here. Yikes. Wow. It's still going. All right, here we go. If Roger Spur's claims about mud fossils, giants, and a reinterpretation of the Triassic and other ancient geological formations were validated by mainstream science, it would imply a fundamental shift in how we understand Earth's history, paleontology, and potentially even human history. Here are some key reasons where major changes could occur. Redefinition of fossilization and a geological process. The mud fossil concept. Roger Spur suggests that many rocks and geological formations are in fact fossilized remains. We know all this. This is the new fossilization mechanism. I've shown exactly how it happens, so now we know that too. What next? Reinterpretation of the Triassic and other geological eras. I have the Triassic era was a red bed, gray clay, black cap, supposed to take 50 million years, something like that. I have all three of those layers, and I can guarantee you it didn't take more than a weekend. All three of them were wet at the same time. The red bed was pushed down with a gray clay pushed down through it, so they were both wet at the same time, and it's a perfect, flawless human footprint. And then the black cap came down, and that's because of the impact. The flesh boiled off was a red bed. The gray clay is some mixy stuff, and the top is the black cap fallout. All right. If Spur's interpretation accepted, it might indicate that larger, perhaps non-dinosaurian life forms existed, were preserved in ways not currently understood. No, they're not. It would be rewriting Earth's biological history. Yes, it would. It would impact on anthropology and human history. Absolutely. Giant beings in human history, yes. Spur's ideas often suggest that myth and legend about giants might have a basis in physical remains. Not might. They absolutely do. All right. And they've been misinterpreted or dismissed. No, dismissed. Hidden from by mainstream science. If validated, it would blur the line between mythology accounts and historical reality, forcing a revelation of ancient texts, myths, and oral traditions mention giants, then a potential implication for human evolution. All right, then another one, challenges to establish scientific paradigm. Everything's wrong, basically. Shift in geological, paleontological consensus. Yes, it's got to change. New research directions. We've got to look into all new research. Because if Spur's ideas were widely accepted, it would likely lead to a paradigm shift compared to the way plate tectonics transformed geology. Well, plate tectonics is wrong. It's all biology in the first place. But they're saying this is going to be huge. It will be huge. It is huge. New research directions. We've got to start all over again. Culture and philosophical implications. We got to start to consider, what about these people that have all these crazy beliefs? We thought they were just insane people, but no. Who knows? Many cultures around the world have myths of giants. Well, they all have. 100% have giants, dragons, and gods. 100%. It could provoke a wider conversation. It should. Public perception of science and history. Yes, the public perception should understand we've just been misled, and now we're being lied to. All right? Skepticism and validation. Yes. Potential resistance and scientific debate. It's all resistance and skepticism, and they won't let it be validated. Confrontation with established interpretations. Absolutely. I'm confronting them every day. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, which I have. So any such rethinking would need to be backed by substantial empirical data, replicable findings, peer-reviewed research. Here's the problem. They will not research it. They won't peer-review it. So I have a confrontation with established interpretations. The theories presented by Spur are often considered outside mainstream science. No, mine are real science. They are outside science. They're just interpretations and guesses, and it must have happened. Oh, guess what? Now we figured it out. Oh, we just figured it out. They figure out something 2-3 times a year. It's unbelievable. All right, so I have to rely on their evidence-based research and methodologies. Yes, I did. I used the CAT scans, DNA tests. I have the chemistry. I have the specimens. They can be retested. All right. In summary, if Spur's ideas about mud fossils, giants, the reinterpretation of ancient geological formations were accepted, it could transform our understanding of Earth's history, life forms, process of fossilization. It would likely require major revisions in textbooks, scientific theories, as well as new research directions to fully understand the implications. Such a shift would not only affect geology and paleontology, but also touch on broader cultural and philosophical questions about humanity's place in history. I would say that's pretty important research. And that's only half of the research. The other half is about the light. And that also feeds into the ancient stories about we come from the light. We are children of the light. Look at all this stuff they wrote. It changes everything, my friends, everything. And it is being hidden from by the people we trusted to confront new information. It's not a good look.